Walt Disney Television Animation had quite the heyday in the 90s. Not only were they seeing the success of the Disney Afternoon, a block of shows that aired in syndication for kids after they got out of school, featuring programs like DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Adventures of the Gummy Bears, and Tailspin, but also with spinning off their own animated films into the realm of television. With the success of The Little Mermaid in 1989, an animated TV spin-off was commissioned and would begin airing on CBS Saturday mornings for a healthy 3-season run from 1992 to 1994. With the success of the Little Mermaid TV show, along with Disney Feature Animation's subsequent films, it was determined that the upcoming film, Aladdin, would be the next project to receive its own spin-off series. Developed by then Disney TV veterans Tad Stones and Alan Zaslov, the Aladdin TV series was set to kick off with a 1-hour special. However, an idea was pitched to have the special be released on home video instead. The heads of Disney, specifically Chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, Disney Feature Animation President Peter Schneider, and CEO Michael Eisner were resistant to the idea. The Disney brand, then having a renaissance with the success of its feature animation division, was seen as prestige and premium, and Eisner, at the time, didn't want to dilute the brand with what could be perceived as a cheap cash-in off the success of Aladdin, the film. However, after viewing dailies for the film, to be titled The Return of Jafar, impressed by the animation, the project was pushed forward as a direct-to-video release.
Now, Aladdin will have to use all his tricks to face his biggest challenge ever. So join all your favorite characters, Aladdin, Jasmine, Iago, and the Genie.
Did you miss me?
Coming out on home video in 1994, just 2 years after the original film's release, The Return of Jafar was huge. The very first installment in Walt Disney Home Video's collection series on VHS, it sold 4.6 million copies in its first week on sale. Later going on to sell around 15 million and grossing $300 million worldwide. According to the LA Times, the success of the film removed the stigma of direct-to-video projects being of lesser quality, and Disney followed the money. For the next 14 years, Disney would consistently release direct-to-video films that served as sequels to their animated classics, from The Return of Jafar to Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas, Pocahontas 2, The Lion King 2, Mulan 2, Cinderella 2, Cinderella 3, the list goes on. These direct-to-video movies, while financially successful, actually did what Michael Eisner feared they would do, at least until he didn't care and saw the money to be made. General consensus had the vast majority of them being, well, bad. Very bad. Diluting what was considered a very good thing, Disney's theatrical animated classics, and turning them into shells of themselves. And pushing out so many over a decade plus, it made them less special. Makes sense then that Disney finally ended the direct-to-video movies and didn't produce any more spin-offs of the sort beyond franchises like the Disney Fairies Tinkerbell films, and TV show spin-offs like the wonderful Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. So, why am I telling you about this? What does this have to do with Kingdom Hearts? Well, Disney repackaging their films and characters into new forms has been an ongoing practice well beyond just the direct-to-video sequels, though those are arguably the most notorious. Prior to video cassettes, Disney would re-release their films in theaters so people could see them again. Then, after the direct-to-videos and the advent of digital 3D technology, Disney would then re-release their bigger films like The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and The Nightmare Before Christmas back in theaters using that new technology. Hell, Nightmare was an annual 3D re-release for quite a few years. The desire to see these characters again, whether in re-release or on a new adventure of sorts straight to video, stems from nostalgia. So many people had memories of seeing these Disney characters in theaters, getting merchandise, going to the Disney parks, what have you, and to rediscover them is an exciting, easy proposition. We all in some form recall something from our childhoods fondly, and Disney found a way to monetize that feeling. This practice prevails still today. Just look at the latest slate of live-action Disney remakes that have been commonplace since Maleficent performed so well back in 2014. They're essentially the same as the direct-to-video sequels, but on a grander, $200 million budget scale. Love The Lion King? See the new CGI version with photorealistic animals. Love Pinocchio? Watch the remade version on Disney Plus, where there's a significant shot of Pinocchio staring at a pile of shit. I digress. This seems a bit cynical and, well, it is. Being a fan of Disney is complicated. I love these characters. I grew up with these characters. I'm the target audience to see these characters from my childhood that I'm really attached to repackaged into new ways. It's the same with remakes of any kind. Love Freaky Friday from 1976? Well, check out this remake of the thing you liked now with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. When looking at the big picture, it is a cynical practice to use familiar and safe concepts to make an easy buck off of audiences who can easily be sold on a product that comes with warm familiarity. In a way, this is Kingdom Hearts. The big selling point of the initial game, no getting around it, was nostalgia. The pitch. What if we merge the video game prowess and characters of Squaresoft's Final Fantasy series with the classic storytelling of Disney's animated films? A merging of two titans of animation and video games into one new product. And it worked! Kingdom Hearts was a different beast that truly came out of nowhere. Just, a game featuring Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, voiced by Mandy Moore no less, having a casual conversation with Donald, Goofy, with Squall.
That's Leon.
And Yuffie next door. That's really a sentence I just spoke out loud that's now just a normal fact. Kingdom Hearts existed as one of Squaresoft's new next-gen forays on the PlayStation 2. Square had released
The Bouncer
the year before, which experimented with a more linear, cinematic approach to gameplay, telling a straightforward story that was quick, propulsive, and featured state-of-the-art graphics. Kingdom Hearts was also a major visual showcase for the PlayStation 2, and the power Squaresoft could harness from it. But in its case, it featured more open levels in exploration, letting players dive into their favorite Disney movies and really poke around and discover new areas never before seen. Nostalgia is the basis for all of it. It's the reason anyone bought Kingdom Hearts. For me, at the time in 2002, I saw a commercial for some game with a catchy pop song playing over it with a bunch of Disney characters I loved. I wanted to play it so bad. I didn't have a PS2, but I wanted to play it. I distinctly remember this shot of Maleficent turning around to face the camera and just being enchanted by it. I was used to the more crunchy polygonal look of PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 games, so seeing this generational leap at this time, the characters looked stunning. So when my brother got a PlayStation 2 for his birthday and I was allowed to pick out a game for myself that he was also interested in, I was immediately drawn to Kingdom Hearts. It was the Disney factor, and I'm sure for other gamers at the time who had been playing the Final Fantasy games on the PS1 and earlier, their selling point was seeing their favorite characters like Cloud and Sephiroth newly rendered on the PS2 in much higher fidelity. Seeing older products made anew, that was imperative to Kingdom Hearts' sales pitch. Now really in this case, was this a bad thing? On one hand, nostalgia is a nice, comfy blanket, something familiar and safe that is an easy sell to people. Like I said earlier, what's not to love about seeing your favorite characters in a new package? On the other, the safeness of nostalgia can easily lead to complacency, not venturing out on more risky storytelling, new ideas, new characters, etc. The initial excitement of a new thing with familiar characters is enticing. Oh, I love Aladdin, now there's an Aladdin 2? But if the new product doesn't live up to lofty expectations, there's the concern that it could tarnish the original thing. I'm of the mind that if I love a movie and it gets a sequel that stinks, it doesn't ruin the initial movie. I adore Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, flaws and all. I abhor The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, with apologies to Jennifer Love Hewitt. My dislike, however, doesn't affect how I feel about the original. Your mileage may vary, and I've seen the opinion online numerous times that Disney's live-action remakes are harming the reputation of their classics. That's absolutely valid, but again, it just depends on the person. That's the inherent danger of nostalgia. It's not a bad thing to want to see new games, movies, shows, whatever, based on established characters that you love. But if the continued adventures fail to impress, it can potentially have a ripple effect that lessens the quality of the original thing in the minds of viewers. And really, with Disney, they ring that nostalgia gong so often and so frequently, it can feel like diminishing returns. That's what happened with the direct-to-video sequels, and it's what may soon happen with the live-action remakes, if the reaction to Pinocchio is anything to consider. Nostalgia isn't bad or good, it just depends on how it's wielded. Now with Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion, it's firmly good. The power of nostalgia is wielded in Kingdom Hearts simply as a basis for the story and worlds to spring forth from. The basic pitch of Disney meets Final Fantasy isn't the whole point of the franchise, but merely its jumping off point. That's not to say the feeling of nostalgia ever goes away when playing through Kingdom Hearts as a series, quite the contrary. It's always a lot of fun to wait and see what Disney worlds will appear in new titles, be it returning worlds shown in a new light, or brand new ones based on more recent releases. Honestly, I'm most here for the bizarre curveball worlds that no one would ever expect, like Tron or Pirates of the Caribbean. More of these in the future, please. The nostalgia is part of the fun and initial appeal. What keeps the players coming back beyond Disney are the original characters and the ongoing story, finding interesting ways to incorporate the existing Disney characters into a sprawling Final Fantasy-style story. When it comes to the Kingdom Hearts series and its relationship with nostalgia, 20 years on, it is now operating on multiple levels, a veritable Byzantine puzzle of fond memories, spectacle, and Chicken Little. Nostalgia's subject is ever-changing as the years go on, so in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, the recent cultural touchdowns for kids and teens were Disney films like The Nightmare Before Christmas, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, the Disney of the 90s. Not to scare anyone about the passage of time, but the more recently adapted Disney movies in Kingdom Hearts 3, they're the Aladdins and Mulans for a new generation of kids. Tangled was in 2010, Frozen 2013. It makes remarkable business sense for newer entries in Kingdom Hearts to dip into the Disney of the more recent past, more so than going even further back. My eyes lit up at the commercials for the original Kingdom Hearts, and I'm sure it was the same for the 2019 release of Kingdom Hearts 3, when ads showcased worlds featuring Rapunzel, Elsa, and Baymax. Even more so now, Disney Interactive isn't much of a thing anymore along with the movie licensed game in general. When films like Aladdin came out, there was a marquee game to play alongside it, and nowadays Disney Interactive's output is much less, with everything licensed out to other game studios like Square Enix, as opposed to developing anything in-house. Besides those horrifying knockoff touchscreen games, there hasn't been a lot of interactive media for Frozen beyond some DS games when the original came out. In this case, of Kingdom Hearts 3 and Frozen specifically, this was the first time these beloved characters had been fully realized on this scale in a video game, an absolute selling point for Kingdom Hearts 3 as an experience for anyone outside looking in on the franchise. The point being, nostalgia has a different meaning for every person. For me, it was the Disney characters I'd grown up watching on VHS appearing in a video game in great detail for the first time ever in 2002. Nowadays, it's similar vibes for kids seeing their more recent favorite characters appear in even more detail than ever before. I personally don't harbor nostalgia for films such as Frozen or Tangled. I like them, don't get me wrong, but I don't have major childhood memories attached to them. For younger teens and kids though, these are the movies they grew up on, and Kingdom Hearts then utilizes those fond memories to bring new audiences into its wild, ongoing story. Now another layer of nostalgia, the nostalgia for Kingdom Hearts itself. Again, apologies for discussing the passage of time, but let's really think about it for a second. Kingdom Hearts is 20 years old this year. 20. 2002 to 2022. Dear God. Not only does Kingdom Hearts wield nostalgia to draw players in for whatever entry of the series was releasing at the time, but now the series is a legacy franchise with a lot of history behind it. I can still remember the trip to Target where I saw the game behind those plexiglass walls along with the rest of those PlayStation 2 cases. They were so tall and not CD jewel cases. So weird. And those demo kiosk screens that you practically broke your neck trying to look up at. I'm frankly kind of shocked that with such a big anniversary for the series, Square hasn't pushed for some kind of remake of the original game to commemorate the time past. Listen, some games have been remade well before 20 years have gone by, but now that Kingdom Hearts has been around for so long, don't be surprised to see Square and Disney to really start playing up that storied legacy franchise angle in not too long in its marketing. It sure as hell will probably work on me. And honestly, they've done it already, with their most recent game. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory may not be everyone's cup of tea, non-fans of rhythm games need not apply, but its whole angle is a celebration of the series' music from the original jaunts on Destiny Islands to the climactic battles in Kingdom Hearts 3. I say, oh, Square may start really pushing nostalgia for the original game pretty soon, but you know what? Too late. It's happening, and I personally welcome it. When you've been around for over 20 years now, hey, it's cause to celebrate, right? But for those like me who have played Kingdom Hearts since the beginning of 2002, hell, even those who jumped into the series in 2006 with Kingdom Hearts 2, or even Chain of Memories in the Game Boy Advance, we've been with this franchise for the long haul. Speaking from my own experience, Kingdom Hearts is such a treasured part of my childhood that I'll just forever be fond of it. Maybe I'll stop playing new entries one day. Doubtful, but let's just be hypothetical for a minute. Kingdom Hearts was one of my formative gaming experiences. The PlayStation 2 wasn't the first console I played. That honor belongs to the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 following that. But Kingdom Hearts came out at a point in my childhood when I was really starting to appreciate storytelling and characters in video games beyond surface level, this is fun commentary. This isn't to say I was some uber philosopher of interactive media, I was in elementary school, but I just really started tuning into what was actually going on with the character I was playing as. It helped that Kingdom Hearts was my first exposure to the more in-depth storytelling of Square, in my defense. I love them to death, but games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro aren't remembered for their deep storytelling on the PlayStation 1. When you start digging deep into something, really loving it and taking it all in, especially being a kid and also terrible at video games and taking a really long time to beat them, you form some integral memories. I still remember the first time I played Kingdom Hearts, the first time I beat Darkseid and was scared to go to sleep after seeing Destiny Islands fall to darkness. how my friends and I would pass our memory cards between each other to see if we could help the other beat a certain boss. Riku, too, in Hollow Bastion, by the way. The first time ever actually beating Kingdom Hearts, just crying as the credits rolled and that slowed down version of Simple and Cling played as Sora and Kairi were separated once again. The secret ending, Another Side, Another Story, absolutely blew my mind when I first witnessed it. I thought we were getting some kind of Kingdom Hearts movie or sequel, not fully understanding what it meant. It's very interesting to recall because I was so into Kingdom Hearts that I remember so many details about it, with the added bonus of the strategy guide that, yes, I still own to this day. I remember all of the Heartless names, all the boss names, even what location areas of the game are called. The final mix version changes some stuff, but my memories of the original vanilla release are burned into my brain. Kingdom Hearts 2 was my most hotly anticipated game ever, and I still remember less details about it compared to the original. And at that point, I had begun following websites like KingdomHearts2.net, before it became KH Insider, to see all the latest news on the then upcoming sequel. So suffice to say, the original game is extraordinarily meaningful to me. It came at just the right time in my childhood to really latch on, and I don't think there's really other games of that early PS2 era that could have affected me the same way. Spyro the Dragon was huge for me as a kid, but in its leap to the PlayStation 2, it lost a lot of its magic when it was created by developers outside of Insomniac Games. Kingdom Hearts was the new, fresh, exciting thing, and it featured beloved Disney characters I just adored. I had recently gotten into The Nightmare Before Christmas, so imagine my joy when I saw the screenshot of Jack Skellington on the back cover. It drew me in with Disney and blew my mind with its Final Fantasy storytelling. It didn't matter that I had no idea who Cloud or Buffy were, I was along for the ride. Like I said, we've reached a point in the franchise that Kingdom Hearts is nostalgia itself. I've said how much the original game means to me, and I don't doubt many others share the same feelings, even from those who may have discovered the games much later through the HD remix re-releases on PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox, PC, and no other versions that I'm intentionally failing to mention. Not only is Kingdom Hearts a nostalgic franchise in its content calling back to Disney movies of old, but now the developers have the power to draw people in with memories of the original game too. Melody of Memory really feels like an appetizer with what they can now do. So, this whole time I've been Disney, but what about the other side of the mashup? What about Square? What about Final Fantasy? While I personally can't attest to having Final Fantasy nostalgia at the time of Kingdom Hearts' release, it definitely was a huge factor in bringing in Square's typical game audience into the fold of this new series. I didn't get into Final Fantasy until about 2005 with, oddly enough, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I recognized the characters like Cloud and Aerith from Kingdom Hearts, so it made me want to rent the movie at Blockbuster. But plenty of other gamers, more than likely older ones than me, had been growing up on the previous entries in Final Fantasy, especially when the series really broke more into the mainstream with the PlayStation 1 entries like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, and spin-offs like Final Fantasy Tactics. The JRPG scene had always been niche. It still is in many ways, but Square had really started building more well-known, beloved characters that could be utilized in new ways and new products, not unlike the Disney characters that pop up in Kingdom Hearts. It's the other side of the same coin. Whereas kids like me saw the Disney characters in Kingdom Hearts and wanted to play it, there were plenty of people who saw characters like Cloud, Yuffie, Aerith, Leon, we're still going with Leon in this case, in brand new detail on the PlayStation 2 who were hooked into buying the game. It helped as well that Kingdom Hearts wasn't a traditional turn-based RPG, but a brand new action experience with real-time combat. I mean, yeah, Donald and Goofy were also there, but where else could you find yourself fighting Cloud in a battle arena in a fully 3D real-time environment? And fully voiced too. At this point, we're used to characters like Cloud having a voice actor from things like Advent Children and the recent remake project. But hearing actual voices, be it English or Japanese, come out of these already beloved characters for the first time, a treat. And that's not even getting into the absolutely wild voice casting like David Boreanaz as Leon and Mandy Moore as Aerith. It kind of made for a really interesting factor that when merging Square and Disney together, the Square characters would get some relatively prominent actors and stars to play them. I mean, Lance Bass was Sephiroth. Who would ever thought, you know? While the level of presence of Square's characters in more recent entries in Kingdom Hearts can be debated elsewhere, it made for another exciting angle of the series to just see what characters would pop up and how they would pop up too. Yuna, Riku, and Pain from Final Fantasy X-2 become little fairies. Auron from Final Fantasy X is a warrior in the Hercules underworld. Tidus and Wakka from Final Fantasy X and Selphie from 8 have been aged down to young teens. Cypher from 8 is still a little shit. The list goes on, and it was its own fun compared to those just waiting to see what Disney worlds and characters would show up. While Kingdom Hearts only came a few years later after such pivotal titles like Final Fantasy VII and just 1 year after the series has jumped to the PS2 with Final Fantasy X, it could mine the nostalgia of people's memories of playing those games and experiencing their stories and characters for the first time. In reality, there's no finite point where something can really be considered nostalgic. Now, I'm not about to pull out the literal definition of the word, but as long as it's in the past in some way, it can be nostalgic to you. So we have Disney nostalgia, Final Fantasy nostalgia, Kingdom Hearts itself nostalgia. It's a lot, and I think it just speaks to how Kingdom Hearts wields it in a really smart and powerful way. Being tied strictly to nostalgia can be a negative experience in media. Like I said, just look at the recent reception of the Disney live-action remakes and how the Disney direct-to-video sequel industry sort of came crashing down in the end. But Kingdom Hearts found a savvy way to merge two distinct pillars of pop culture together and have something new spring forth. If the series had literally just been retreads of Disney and Final Fantasy plots with nothing else, we never would have made it to a 20th anniversary. Because these classic properties were twisted and utilized in new ways to serve a brand new story with brand new characters, it kept things feeling fresh. Whether they succeeded is up for debate, obviously, with any piece of media, but I think it's fair to say that after 20 years and with Kingdom Hearts 3 becoming the best-selling entry in the series, we could say this formula is still working. It wasn't just the retreads, but nostalgia and familiarity used to support Sora, Kairi, Riku, Roxas, Xion, Terra, Aqua, Ventus. A whole slew of new and many now beloved characters to tell a brand new story that uses both Disney and Final Fantasy as the soil to grow forth these new characters and plots. Kingdom Hearts is a truly unique beast. From its characters, its music, its story, there's so much to talk about. None of it could have been seen through, though, without the power of nostalgia. Those comforting memories we have tied to beloved characters of both animation and gaming brought so many people to the series with the original game in 2002 and every entry after that. Talk to a bunch of Kingdom Hearts fans. Chances are every single game in the franchise served as their own entry point into the whole series. They didn't all start with the first. The memories of Disney movies and characters you watched when you were younger, the Final Fantasy games you played, it all came together to create something special that has now somehow gone on now for 20 years. 20! I still find that number absolutely stunning. Playing the original as my first PlayStation 2 game back in 2002, never in a million years did I think this action media mashup would persevere for this long. Nostalgia's an interesting thing. In media, in business, it's wielded in ways that are tired and simple pandering, diluting whatever came before. On the other hand, it's used as an entry point into something entirely new, and that's where I think Kingdom Hearts lands. Sure, maybe not everyone would agree on this, some claiming it uses Disney as a crutch, that it should be more Final Fantasy than Disney. That's a debate for another day. But in the end, it seems to have found its own balance of new and old. If it wasn't for this successful merging of two seemingly disparate sources, Kingdom Hearts would have never come to be. Nostalgia could evoke especially strong feelings from many, and it's been fascinating to see how Kingdom Hearts has wielded those emotions through its time in video games. And with age, the series has nostalgia for itself now. It seems a bit messy, but with recent nostalgic endeavors like Melody of Memory revisiting the past through music, I'm going to be very curious to see in what ways this power is wielded for future entries in the franchise, especially as it has become more successful than ever, and as we move into a brand new, unknown phase of storytelling. Nostalgia hasn't failed Kingdom Hearts yet, and I for one am ready for what new horizons will be discovered in Kingdom Hearts 4 and beyond. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The grand finale in my Kingdom Hearts essay series is coming very soon. Thanks to my top patrons, Jordan O'Neill, Gage Parks, Gray Heyman, Jan Willis, Mandy Lopez, and aughts. If you enjoyed this video, you can help support me on Patreon, where you get early access to videos such as this one, along with exclusive content released every month. See you all next time.